the Newsweek that I knew has been totally decimated and destroyed after it was sold for $1 a couple of years ago. But when I was at Newsweek, when I started, there were 26 foreign correspondents. They now have 2. So coming up in the media, I've kind of witnessed this kind of industry-wide change from a very kind of ground level. You could say.
What years were you at Newsweek?
2002 to 2008, and then in 2008 I covered the presidential election for Newsweek. That was and covered Hillary, Secretary Clinton, who was in Senator Clinton, and then dropped out and then quit Newsweek after she left because I kind of got sick of Newsweek. It's not even what the editor says. It's just these sort of legacy media companies have particular voices. And what I saw again and again was that the most interesting things that I was filing would end up on the cutting room floor, right? And sometimes it'd be details, say, about a death squad, sometimes it'd be details about something else, but the stuff that I was most interested in never actually made it into the magazine. Here's a more kind of clear-cut example of that. Had I done that, so I did a big story about General Stanley McChrystal for Rolling Stone. That story would not have made it into Newsweek. The way
okay, so that's okay. Now we're having a conversation.
They would have taken all my good stuff and they would have buried it in the story. It would not have. I'll do a caveat. The Newsweek, as when John Meacham was editor, they would not have printed my story. I can guarantee you that.
Why do you think that is?
Political reasons, for reasons that there's a sense that at Newsweek we were supposed to kind of uphold, that we're supposed to sort of reinforce our societal myths, not deconstruct them and not kind of expose them. And so there was a real mission there. I think certainly under Meacham sucks. He's on my enemies list, one of the people I wanted to go on a rant on at some point this week, where they were not going to push the button. Like senior military officials, despite how they've lied to us for a number of wars, despite the Pentagon Papers, despite all we knew from that kind of Newsweek mainstream perspective, we're going to be on this pedestal, and we would not have criticized them that way. And I know this for a fact because you can actually go back and read Newsweek's profile of McChrystal, which was done by a really great reporter. A guy named, I don't want to get him in trouble, but they took this great reporter's stuff and they buried it, And so one of the reasons I actually knew that, there would be kind of an interesting story here, was because when I read this original Newsweek story a year before my story came out, and I was like, wow, the reporter is trying to tell the truth here, and his editors are killing it. And if you have editors who are willing to kind of let that stuff free, let it go, then maybe there could be something there.
I think there is a distinct lack of skepticism. I think when you have an institution like the Pentagon, every general since 2001 has said we are either winning or have won in Afghanistan, except for one moment when General McChrystal decided in 2009 to say, oh, actually, we're not winning. And the only reason he said that was because he wanted more troops, right? But immediately after he said that, then everyone else, then Petraeus and every other general has followed him, said, we're winning, when it's clear that's not the case. So one has to say, why are we giving the Pentagon so much credibility to make these statements? Why hasn't the Pentagon press corps stood up and said, or a member of it, and say, you've said in 2002, 2003, 2004 that we've won this war. You've said in 2006, 2007, 2008 that we've won this war. Why are you now saying we have to fight there for 10 more years? And that is literally what General McChrystal just said.
I think you laid. And what happened, it says, it demonstrated just how tenuous one's position could be. Careers could flame out overnight. The political media class saw the story as a threat to their schmoozy relationship, their very existence and social life. If you can't get wasted with a journalist who's writing a profile of you and piss all over the president who appointed you, what's the world coming to?
Yeah, that didn't make me too many friends in the Washington, D.C. press
Were you
corps.
shocked by that response that you wrote what was an honest account? You didn't try to protect McChrystal or the aides that surrounded him, and then you got really crazy backlash.
I was shocked that I was shocked that President Obama fired him. I think that was very significant. I did not realize how bad the relationship between the president and the Pentagon had been, and I think what that meant was this was President Obama reasserting his control over the Pentagon.
So, Michael Hastings, in your BuzzFeed article, The Sins of General David Petraeus, you argue that Petraeus was a master of deception. Do you think he should have resigned?
I think there's many other reasons Petraeus should have resigned besides who he's sleeping with that's not his wife. But I just want to make a point here. That the larger point that I've been making is that essentially the media has played a role in protecting David Petraeus and promoting David Petraeus and mythologizing David Petraeus. And we saw it here tonight. General Kimmett, who was a spokesperson in Baghdad, who was a roommate of Petraeus, who was involved in one of the biggest debacles in recent foreign policy history, is on TV, defending David Petraeus without actually addressing the real problems with David Petraeus' record. And those are the fact that he manipulated the White House into escalating to Afghanistan. He ran a campaign in Iraq that was brutally savage, included arming the worst of the worst, Shiite death squads, Sunni militiamen, and then you go back to the training of the Iraqi army program that also had similar problems. So for me, all the while he's going around the country talking about honor and integrity. So for me, the questions of honor and integrity, I was raising those earlier. A number of other journalists who were actually covering David Petraeus were raising those concerns. You might not get that from someone like Barbara Starr at CNN, who is essentially a spokesperson for the Pentagon in many ways. So I think I just want to step back and to have my piece, because just even the way the scandal is being covered is so different than how usual sex scandals are being covered, where they hammer the guy mercilessly. Now everyone's saying, oh my God, he was he just went to the CIA. How could he be, he was susceptible to being seduced by this woman. Give me a break. Petraeus now has all his allies coming out to defend him, where Paula Broadwell is there yet again. Where are her protectors?
Okay, well, but Barbara's not a spokesperson for him, obviously. But let's move to Lieutenant Colonel.
Not too obviously. I followed her coverage pretty closely, as she's covered my work before too.
Well, just because she's written naughty things about you doesn't make her a spokesperson.
No, what makes her a spokesperson is repeating without question a lot of Pentagon claims.
But it's not only complex, but he enshrined, look, the two key things that I took away from that speech is that Obama has enshrined the two most radical principles of the Bush doctrine. The first is, he sort of got rid of torture and sort of got rid of extraordinary rendition, but enshrines targeted assassination. At the same time, he doesn't apologize for, he won't apologize for the scandal in Benghazi. He won't apologize for the IRS is a few bad apples, and he says no, the AP and spying on journalists is okay. So he enshrines killing people and spying on journalists as the two major tenets of his national security state. I think this is outrageous.
I don't agree with what Michael said. I'm just to be blunt about it.
I read your piece. It was essentially, talking points from the White House. It was stenography. And look, I dig your work, and I've read it in the past as a colleague, but I was not impressed with the piece that we were sent around by the producers.
Well, let's let Perry explain what he said before you say we're not impressed with it. Let's hear it.
Well, I could say it. I read it.